While retirement is generally seen as a time of relaxation and self-focus, God calls us to love, serve, and help others for a lifetime. He has been preparing us for this retirement season, literally our entire lives. In retirement, countless Christians enter a state of spiritual dormancy, not knowing how they are called to have an impact for God's kingdom. The Retirement Reformation seeks to encourage and empower the 50 million Christians approaching or in retirement to embrace the calling God has been preparing in them. When the world says it's time to stop, you can begin to have your greatest impact. Welcome to iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation, where our goal is to journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him.
Reaching out to the 50 million Christ followers in America who are approaching or already in retirement, you've tuned into iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece for the Retirement Reformation. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg, along with the founder of the Retirement Reformation, Bruce Brynsma. Check us out online, retirementreformation.org, retirementreformation.org, or of course in the App Store, Retirement Reformation. Resources. Sometimes there are just too many choices. Sometimes they're just not enough. Which is it, you may ask? When it comes to equipping Christ-following retirees for what to expect in retirement and how to spend their retirement years investing their faith in others, there are very few places on the planet, let alone the web, that offer assistance. By divine appointment, you've tuned into iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Online at retirementreformation.org. We have just what you're looking for. No matter what that is, as long as it has to do with living out your faith while celebrating and flourishing in your retirement years. Our last episode and today's episode are dedicated to helping you learn all about what we have to offer and how you can get hold of it. As always, Bruce Brynsma is here to join us. Bruce is the founder of the Retirement Reformation and my co-host on the show. Bruce Brynsma, welcome back to iRetire4Him.
Always good to be here, and I'm excited to be able to talk about these resources because that's what helps people find, start, and move along on their journey.
All right, so let's talk to the Retirement Reformation listeners today that have got an iPhone. And so the App Store is super easy to get, and they can download a brand new feature you added this year, the Retirement Reformation app.
Well, there's so many times when we're sitting in the doctor's office or we're, stopped for a cup of coffee or we're just sitting at home and the idea of turning TV on is just, I'm not going to do that. You're sitting on your back porch and the gentle breeze is blowing or whatever. And what comes to your mind is, this stage that I'm either about to enter or that I'm in. I need to think about that. And I just remember that I downloaded that app about that Retirement Reformation. Maybe I ought to just take a look and see what they've got. And so you've got an opportunity just to be able to hold it up in your hand like you do with everything else, page through it and look at it and see what's there. And so you get an idea of the breadth and the scope, but also of the specificity of the different resources that are there for you.
So let's talk about how to access those resources. You've got free resources and you've got resources people can pay for. So let's talk about membership. Membership has its privileges, and even if it's the free membership, how do people get involved?
Well, there's the whole process of connecting with this whole issue has a sequence to it. That sequence often starts with kind of a worry or an anxiety about, gee, what am I going to do? Or what's that going to look like when I leave my career and move to my job, move to a new set of circumstances? When that happens, then the ability to then go, well, what can I do? And you take a look, and we'll talk about the Retirement Reformation Manifesto. But the bottom line is you have an aha moment. Aha, I can still make a difference. God still has a plan. So what's the difference? What's the plan? And how in the world do I figure it out and get started?
So on the Retirement Reformation website, though, you get different levels of membership. Let's talk about those levels of membership. You get the free membership, and you've got two different levels of paid membership. What are those?
Well, those different levels of membership are the first one is an opportunity to simply say, I want to take another step and the resources that are there, those resources are free and available.
Right.
And so that's what I needed, just an introduction into the different elements of that.
And that works both on the web and on the app, right? That membership.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
The next thing is now I think I need to take another step into this. I need another level of assistance. Perhaps I need some coaching. Perhaps I need to join a group. Perhaps I need to come to an event. All of those kinds of activities, then there are nominal costs that are associated with those, but they bring value. And so cost without value is ridiculous, but cost with value is critical. And so we try to bring value at that second level. The third level is one whereby, you've taken the steps, you're in the process, you've connected with the community, but now there's probably more. And perhaps you want to take a step into leading others down these paths. And here's an opportunity to be able to take that next step also.
And doesn't one of those steps include some like 30 minutes of one-on-one time, or there's some coaching in one of those steps, isn't there?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, in the first step, in that first one, there's an initial coaching. In the second one, there's a more extensive coaching. To be able to just simply to connect with someone and say, here's where I am in my thinking, and I don't think I got the answers quite right. Can you ask me some questions, give me some feedback, give me some coaching that will help me to break loose and move into that next area of either expertise. And then there's also an opportunity. There will be some people who will say, wow, think I could coach others. And so an opportunity to step into learning how to be a coach and being able to help others. So all these levels are available as you move along your journey.
But does this only work for people that are about ready to retire or just like brand new retirees? I mean, if somebody's already been retired for 15 years, this stuff's not going to work for them, is it?
Oh, absolutely it will. Matter of fact, it might even be more important, because when we realize that there's 3 stages in retirement, each one has some different characteristics, some different challenges, some different strengths, some different opportunities. And for example, in that second stage of retirement, when you go from activity to mentoring, well, now what does that mean? There's a whole new piece that opens up, all new opportunities. And so now to be able to connect with those who can assist in that arena, as well as to help you find the vision that God has at that stage. And then we've got that final stage, that third one, which is maybe the most difficult for most people to think about. But once they get there, again, a whole series of decisions about how is God going to use me to build the kingdom, given his preparation, my preparation, and the opportunities that he puts in front of us.
And it's really all about pouring our lives into other people, but doing it with a higher level of intentionality. And everything that the Retirement Reformation has to offer on the web, on the app, is all about helping you to become more like Jesus so that you can see purpose and fulfilling and see your calling played out in your retirement. So we encourage you to check it out online, retirementreformation.org, retirementreformation.org. All of that we talked about is available there, and we're going to hear from John Hirst, who helped us develop a whole bunch of that stuff, and then we'll be right back with more conversation with Bruce about some more tools on the Retirement Reformation website and app. You're listening to iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece for the Retirement Reformation. Hang on.
The Retirement Reformation wants to come alongside you as you navigate in each stage of your retirement. Our online resources include our blog, our downloadable books, and life planning studies, as well as membership and coaching options. Go to retirementreformation.org and use these resources to begin the transformation of your retirement. Journey from retirement to reformation, so you can say, I retire for him. That's retirementreformation.org. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him. As we always do in every middle segment, we bring a story of somebody's, hey, what are they doing with retirement? But in today's case, John Hirst joins us. He's going to share about his involvement with Retirement Reformation and all of the products that are all of the services, all of the options that you've got on the Retirement Reformation website. But I'm also going to ask him this tough question. John, you're not retired yet. What are you thinking about retirement? John Hirst, welcome to iRetire4Him.
Great to be here with you today. Thanks so much for having me on. And, I think when I think about retirement, even though, like you said, I'm not really very close to retirement today, but when I think about retirement, I think about the fact that I want my entire life to be on mission for God. And why would I think any differently about retirement than I do about my college years, my early career, my senior career time? And so as I think ahead to retirement and all that's happening in the Retirement Reformation, I think, if I could be thinking now about how to rethink and redesign how I approach my time, to always be asking questions about purpose and significance, that's really going to make all the difference.
So talk to us about right now. What are you doing right now? What does the Lord have you doing right now for work?
So I work with an organization called SIL International. We work with the world's 7,000 plus languages. We translate the Bible, we do literacy, we develop the keyboards, we help develop the dictionaries for all of the languages of the world, especially the smaller languages that have fewer resources.
Wow. So how is your faith getting played out in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis today?
Yeah. So I serve as the Chief Innovation Officer for SIL, and what I get to do every day is to take all of these amazing tools that are designed to help people flourish with their languages and reimagine them for a new generation, new technology, new strategies, new products, new opportunities. I think about, the refugees around the world speaking all kinds of languages, but coming to places like where you are in Florida or where I am here in Wisconsin. And how do we help people to flourish as they use their language? It's a really fun job.
Well, and I love that. So innovation is really at the heart of your soul, that God's placed this calling for innovation. And what's funny is, okay, with the Retirement Reformation, you developed a whole bunch of innovation that's now being applied to people that are almost on the edge of retirement or already in retirement. And innovation for them is sometimes a struggle because the whole computer world wasn't something they grew up in. And so how did you when you were thinking about some of the tools that you were giving the Retirement Reformation, how did you think about the innovation side that would make it easy for all of our listeners to engage with the Retirement Reformation online?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I've been involved in, even before my role with SIL, was helping the Retirement Reformation develop some tools. And I still get to be involved on the side, which has been a real blessing in my life. And the thing I love most is helping develop some of the tools, like you said. So what we've done is we've imagined talking to a lot of retirees, and I know a lot of people in my life who are retired. Obviously, Bruce Brunsma, who runs Retirement Reformation, speaks regularly with people in retirement. And we started to identify tools that would be a big help in the daily walking out of how do I live my life in retirement on mission for God. So for instance, we have some resources like daily devotionals, right, that are geared towards thinking about what does God's word say about the things that I'm experiencing in retirement. One of the fun ones that we did was we developed a prayer walking guide. So, people that are about to retire or maybe considering moving to a new place in retirement, we really encourage people to visit there and actually prayer walk through the place that God might have them go in retirement and really discern, God, do you want me here? Because you know that when you're in a place, when you live somewhere, that's where God gives you so many of your opportunities, right? To bless a neighbor, to be involved in a church, to be involved in your community. And so if you're not even involving God in that decision about where you're going to live, you're missing out on one of the key parts of retirement.
So let's talk about that prayer walk thing, because, you live in Wisconsin and half of Wisconsin empties out in the wintertime and comes to Florida. And if you're going to prayer walk Florida, you couldn't do it in the wintertime because it's 16-hour drive from Key West to Pensacola. What does it look? Sorry, that was just meant to be a little funny. How do you help people determine, when they're praying, how do you suggest that they do this prayer walk? Because obviously they can't walk around the whole state, but how do you tell them to put that into action? Because prayer walking is one of those ideas that most of the church didn't even know about until we read Circle Maker. 15 years ago, that was the first time we'd heard about prayer walking. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I think it becomes part of our natural discernment process. So what do you do when you're going to move somewhere, either as a snowbird or going to move somewhere permanently? You look at options where you like, where you have people that based on job opportunities, where family is, whatever it might be. And then you start visiting. But one of the things we don't tend to do when we visit is take time to really pray in the space, right? So when you visit somewhere, whether it's a retirement home or just simply a community where you're going to buy a house, whatever it might be, when you visit, do you take a little time and actually walk the space and pray and say, God, what are you doing here? What's going on here? How could I get involved in being on mission for you here? Because especially, I think, as we get older, our worlds shrink a little in the sense that we get less and less mobility over time, right? Our world becomes a smaller place as we have different challenges that we have to overcome. And so that place we are, that physical space, is really one of our key ministry points. And we want to think a lot about that.
I love that. Okay, so you just planted yourself in Burlington, Wisconsin, north and west of Chicago, the Windy City, about an hour and a half. How are you and your family prayer walking around Burlington to figure out what God's got you next there? I mean, you moved from Colorado Springs, where Jesus lives, and where he goes on vacation for sure during the summertime. So, first of all, what moved you to Wisconsin? And remember, I'm giving you the bye as a cheesehead, just because you're a relatively new cheesehead. And how do you see God using your faith as you prayer walk it out there in Burlington?
Yeah, great question. So we moved to the area for a variety of reasons. I can do my job from anywhere. And we decided that we needed to be nearer to family. So we get that opportunity, which is a huge blessing. But what we did two things in the area in this kind of prayer walking area. One is we took what we called a vision trip to the Midwest with our family. And we prayed around several areas that we were considering moving. And as a family, we just talked that through and prayed together and really felt God calling us to the area that we're in. But now that we're here, one of the things that I get to do a lot of days, I take a walk in the morning and I just pray for the neighborhood. I pray a blessing on the neighborhood, pray for my neighbors, and just ask God to start opening up, the opportunities I might have to love and serve them.
So are you using like the app, the Bless Every Home app, that one, or are you just doing it on your own?
No, just doing it on my own.
That's very, very cool.
That's why we created the guide on the retirementreformation.org site, because a lot of times people are like, well, how would I even start? Well, we got a whole guide with tips and ideas and strategies and prayers you can pray and everything all together to make it a lot easier.
That is awesome. Hey, on our next podcast, we're still going to be talking about the tools offered by the Retirement Reformation. Can you hang on so we can capture some more of your perspective on the tools that are offered? Can you hang on for another segment?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back with more on iRetire4Him.
It's time we stop looking at our retirement years as 30 years of vacation, leisure, and self-gratification. Let's take control of our retirement life plan and build meaning, purpose, and intentionality into it. Go to retirementreformation.org and click on the word manifesto. We invite you to make a retirement declaration to yourself and to God. Sign the manifesto and start changing the way you think about retirement. Retirementreformation.org. Click on Manifesto. Journey from retirement to reformation, so you can say, I retire for Him. Now let's get back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him, the mouthpiece for the Retirement Reformation, online at retirementreformation.org and in the App Store, Retirement Reformation. How about on Facebook, Retirement Reformation? All those great places. Bruce Brynsma, what a great conversation with John Hirst, really talking about the prayer walk and how that is such a powerful piece as retirees are considering, hey, where should we live? What should we be doing? And learning the things that I learned in The Circle Maker, a great book by Batterson, I believe it was, Mark Batterson, 15 years ago, learning how to do a prayer walk. Just seeking the Lord, asking the Lord His opinion, asking for His guidance, and listening was powerful. So glad he talked to us about that. Bruce, talk to us about the manifesto. Really the manifesto is kind of what you started with to say, hey, something's got to change because retirement is screwed up.
That is so true. And you need to have a foundation. You have some boundaries, some places to understand. Well, just think of what was the role of the 10 Commandments for the Israelites. Did it give them all the detail? No, it gave them the outline of what was important, how God saw it, and how they could step into it. The Retirement Reformation Manifesto has a similar role where it identifies what are the key things that we need to be thinking about. What are the key ways that we need to be changed, that the reformation of our thinking needs to go. And it outlines 10 different areas where that is. So let's take the first one, which is freedom. And we've done a number of podcasts about that, but in its simplest form, it's how are we be free to be able to follow God's call on our life? What does that look like? And then and as its foundation, it uses that John 15:16 verse, which is just so powerful, where Jesus said, "You didn't choose me. I chose you. And I chose you, and I prepared you, and I'm calling you to bear much fruit that will last." And so this whole conversation is part of it is just simply figuring out how to carry out that. And the manifesto is what a wonderful place to start. Not only that, we got a study manual that goes with it. You can take 4 or 5 of your buddies, couples, come together, read through it, take a look at the study guide and the questions that are there, and absolutely have fantastic conversations with your friends or with others that want to come together to have that conversation about the Retirement Reformation Manifesto and God's specific call on your life.
And the great thing is if you go out to retirementreformation.org, if you stay out there 2 seconds, it'll pop up. Have you signed the manifesto? And gives you a chance to read it and contemplate signing it along with thousands of others from around the world who have signed the Retirement Reformation Manifesto. I totally recommend. That's how Bruce and I found each other and both realized that we were out there to encourage Christ-following retirees here in America. And I saw his manifesto. I'm like, I've written something similar to this. Wait a minute, we got 2 organizations. Let's do this together. Let's figure out a way to do this together. I love the manifesto. All right, so talk to me about, on a weekly basis, you guys send out a blog that's about praying. You know, it's specific. I mean, you got a weekly email that goes out. And is it, and I'm not sure, is it tied to the Prayer Mate app or is it just a prayer blog? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, it's actually devotions.
Okay.
That you can receive and download or have on your screen and be able to build that in to your devotional schedule. And it's designed to be able to lead you through issues that you already know you need to think about, but to be able to help you provide a way to be able to do that. And so devotions. And then, Jim, you mentioned the Prayer Mate. I tell you what, I get excited. Yeah, man, I can get excited. When I was first exposed to the Prayer Mate, that's not something that we developed, but that we are using and introducing to you. It was the answer to my prayer life, I'll tell you. Because in just a quick version of what it does is it allows you to be able to put all your prayer requests there by category. So, for example, I have a list of everybody in our life group that I teach, and I can pray for them. I got everybody on our staff. I can pray for them. I've even got Jim Bragenberg on there, and I pray for him.
Nice.
But, what happens with most of us is we got so many prayer requests, they just kind of evaporate after a while. And so here with Prayer Mate, you're able to, it will bring to you on a daily basis, let's say, for your prayer time, it will rotate through, say, 15 different prayer requests, so that over time, what we've done with the Retirement Reformation is we've created 52 prayers. They are there, and you can find on Prayer Mate, you can click on it, and it will build those Retirement Reformation prayers into your prayer life. The cost of the app is $0. There's an advanced version that you can spend some money on. But oh my goodness, so that I know that the 147 prayer requests that are prayer issues that I need to be praying about, that with that help, I'm going to pray my way through all of them, including the Retirement Reformation issues.
I love that. And really, that's one of the things that I'm hearing from a lot of Christian and Christ-following retirees. And I say those two things, people that are Christian who never really took their faith that seriously or just beginning to take their faith seriously, and then they become Christ followers. It starts to transform all of their life. And prayer is at the center of that. When people and retirees have a little bit more time for a little quiet time in the morning because they don't have the pressure of getting in the car and go to the office or going to the work site or going to the store, whatever it may be, or So now they got time in the morning to actually explore this prayer stuff.
Well, Jim, as we talk about often, and these resources that we're talking about support this, but we know that, yes, over time we are going to go downhill physically and may go downhill mentally, but we have the opportunity to grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
We have the opportunity to increase our capacity to deal with difficult issues, our emotional intelligence. And so many of these resources are part of the process of helping us to grow in those areas. And that's what leads to the most exciting time of life and perhaps the most productive within the concept of being a Christ follower and building his kingdom.
I love those thoughts, and that's it. I mean, as you prepare to just run the end of your race. Bruce, one of the things that's on the website, it mentions webinars. And I know that in today's world where, with COVID, you can't get in a big group with people anymore, or right now at least. Talk to me about the webinars. How often do you get to do a webinar? And are there some out there that people can watch that maybe have been in the past?
Yeah, there certainly are, and we intend to do more. I think that goes along parallel with the webinar or the podcasts of iRetire4Him and the partnership that we have. So there is a place to be able to connect with us on a regular basis and to be fed. When we get to do webinars, we're going to be able to take each one of these resources, for example, and do a webinar about them specifically, and then perhaps help you to walk through and to be able to move through and to be able to gain the greatest amount from those. We're also able to do webinars in conjunction with other ministries. And so as those are available, so that you have plenty of input, that will be an encouragement, will be an education, will be something that will keep you other focused and not on yourself, and being able to impact the lives of others, whether it be because you've changed or because the information that now you have access to, you can refer them to, and either together or individually, it will change their life.
Bruce, I love this conversation about all the tools that the Retirement Reformation website and app have to offer. We're going to have to carry this on to the next podcast because there's still so many tools and resources we haven't even mentioned yet. Can you hang on for that conversation?
Let's make sure we do it. I think it's important.
All right. Well, we love that you guys have tuned in to iRetire4Him. The mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. What do we mean? We mean we're just trying to make sure that you know the resources that are out there and available for you. I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg, and of course, joined by Bruce Bruinsma, the founder of the Retirement Reformation. We're Christ followers journeying from retirement to reformation, so we can ultimately say, I retire for Him.
For Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation founder, Bruce Bruinsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.